Welcome everyone. My name is Frank Devine. I'm one of the True Global Venture Partners. I'm glad to moderate this TGV podcast episode number 13, where we will explore how AI is transforming business communication with Rajat Mishra, founder and CEO of Prezent AI. And to bring a real-world enterprise perspective, we will also be joined by Maïti Marquez, formerly at Cisco, where she has been instrumental in deploying Prezent AI, and she will share her insight on how AI can play a key role in empowering people to better communicate. In today's enterprise world, communication is key, yet crafting impactful, brand compliant, and engaging presentations remain a challenge for many organizations. With AI advancing rapidly, companies now have the opportunity to enhance storytelling, automate workflow, and scale personalized communication like never before. Prezent AI is at the forefront of this transformation, empowering enterprises to communicate with clarity, efficiency, and consistency. So to keep the TGV spirit, we will take all the questions from the chat. So for the audience, do not hesitate to ask your questions throughout the session. I'll pick up some of them towards the end. And to keep the conversation dynamic, I aim for short questions and sharp answers from the speakers. Let's dive in. Rajat, welcome to our TGV podcast. Can you introduce yourself and explain Prezent AI, what Prezent AI is doing?
Yes, Frank, thank you for having me. As a child, Frank, I had a speech impediment. I couldn't speak very clearly. I had a big stutter and stammer. And all of you can imagine growing up as a child in Delhi, my friends would mercilessly make fun of me. So I actually, Frank, had to put stones in my mouth as a child to get over my speech impediment. And during the course of my life, I had the good fortune to work at Microsoft, go to the Wharton School of Business. I was a junior partner at McKinsey and a senior vice president at Cisco. And in my life, I found that it was not just me, but there were millions of other people like me who were struggling with business communication. And because of that, they were not achieving their full potential. So Frank, I looked at business presentations more closely because presentations are the de facto way of communicating in an enterprise. And what I found was the entire ecosystem was broken. I found that people are spending way too much time. They're not trained in business communication. Leaders like Mighty, over 90% are looking for better ways to communicate. And agencies are spending companies are spending hundreds of millions of dollars on agencies and consultancies. Over 400 to 500 billion dollars is spent every year on agencies and consultancies. And brand marketers are frustrated that people in the enterprise are not sticking to the brand. So when I saw all these issues, I was like, look, I quit my job at Cisco, and if someone needs to go and solve this problem, that's how we started Prezent. So what is Prezent AI? Prezent is an enterprise-grade AI platform for business presentations, an enterprise-grade AI platform for business presentations that automates all these problems that I talked about. And by automating these problems, people save time, they improve their business storytelling, and they reduce cost on agencies and consultancies.
So maybe a very concrete first question is, what are the key success factors of a fantastic presentation? What would it be about?
Yeah, I think, presentations is a very broad category. So we are focused on presentations in the enterprise or business presentations, very different than presentations in schools or in the social setting. So in the business world, I think there are three things that make a great presentation, Frank. And there is one thing, if you do, it destroys the presentation. So there's one disqualifier as well. So the three things, first is audience empathy. We know that every presentation is a business story, and you have to connect with the audience, right? So for example, I hate images and I hate the word leverage. I hate buzzwords. So if anyone uses those words with me, I'm going to tune out. And all of you listening probably have some pet peeves, right? So you have to first tailor it to your audience. That's audience empathy is one. The second, I would say, is structured storytelling. So in the end, all of us relate to stories. We are in the business world, but we go home and we watch movies and we watch TV. So people want those stories, but in the business world, they need to be very structured, like situation, complication, resolution, or the hero's journey. So structured storytelling is the second piece. And the third thing that's really important is industry and functional insight. Because in the end, you want business stories that are relevant to the function and the industry you're in. Because a marketer in biopharma is very different than an ops leader in high tech. So I would say those three things make a great story, Frank. But one thing can destroy a great presentation in the enterprise, which is not being brand aligned. Because every company spends a lot of time and money developing their brand identity. And if a presentation is not fully aligned with the brand, it destroys those three things that I mentioned earlier.
Yeah, okay, very clear, very clear. So how does Present AI ensure effectiveness of the storytelling, as you said, and productivity gain and engagement while maintaining brand compliance for enterprise?
Yeah, so we've tried to solve for all those factors, Frank. So the way we solve for audience empathy is whenever anyone logs into the Present platform, and I'll show you a demo, we ask you a few questions and build what we call an audience fingerprint. It's how you like to be communicated to. And if anyone's presenting to you, they can select you as the audience, and the presentation gets hyper personalized to you. So that's kind of one thing we've done. For structured storytelling, we've taken a look at all the major business storytelling frameworks and we fed that into our AI. So the stories you create on Present are very structured. And we've also built specialized presentation models by industry. We know that every industry is very different. So for example, when I was at McKinsey, the partner who's working with biopharma companies is not the same partner working with financial firms, is not the same partner working with tech companies. So what we've done, we've fed industry level insight into our AI. So it's very industry specific. And we do all of this in concert with the brand and marketing teams of our Fortune 500 clients. We serve over 100 Fortune 500 clients now. And with every Fortune 500 client, we work with the brand and marketing teams to get their brand assets, understand the brand ethos, and make sure if anyone's working on Present, they're 100% brand compliant. Because when I was in Cisco, Frank, I remember I had to once pay a 250K fine because one of the images used was not brand aligned. So it's a real issue. You have to make sure everything is brand aligned, and you need to work in partnership with your customers and the brand team.
Okay, so how do you see the role of AI evolving in enterprise communication before we go to the demo?
Yeah, I think the efficiency is obvious. I think efficiency is obvious. We are going to save, our customers are already saving 80-90% time building presentations. That'll only get
Wow.
but I think the two kind of emerging aspects, one is this idea, Frank, you mentioned around hyper personalization. Every individual is different, every team is different, every company is different, every industry is different. Can you really hyper personalize the content to that person, to that team, to the company's lingo, and to the industry? That's one. I think that will become hyper personalization at scale is going to become more real over time. And the second thing, I think we are going to move from more of these general LLMs, because when you use a general LLM and create a presentation, all of you must have gotten the feeling that an AI made it. It feels an AI made it because it doesn't have the context of your industry and your function. So I think there's going to be a move towards agents that are more specialized by industry and by function. Just like in real life, we don't have one person helping us with everything. We have a CFA, we have a CPA, we have an admin, we have a chef. All these people are helping us. I think there'll be specialized agents for presentations in the enterprise for particular industries and functions.
Yeah, we will deep dive later on with the specific language model that you're using and how you're using your tech stack. But before that, maybe let's go to the demo. Did you prepare a scenario that we can have a comprehensive idea of what Present is delivering to?
Yeah, absolutely. So let me share my screen. Okay. Frank, can you see my screen? Which says,
yeah, we do.
okay, awesome. So what I've done is, we create an instance of Present for every Fortune 1000 company we work with. So I'm going to show you, to maintain client confidentiality, I'm going to show you an instance of Present for the Present company. And you can imagine we'll do something like this for every company we work with. right? So I told you the bookends of a great presentation is audience empathy and being on brand. So let me show you how we solve for audience empathy. So whenever anyone joins Present or logs in, they get asked a few questions. And after being asked a few questions, we create a fingerprint for them. So for example, Jack Collins, he is a sales leader in Present. He has filled out his own fingerprint. And you will see that after he's filled it out, we know that he's a performer. Everyone gets a cool soul animal. He's a peacock. And Jack likes vibrant visuals. His stories, he likes supporting points first, then the answer. That means he's deductive. And his data style is narrative. He likes a blend of data and storytelling. So what we realize that people differ in these three dimensions. So we know Jack's preference at the high level, but we also let Jack give us his personal preferences as well. So he's told us he likes people when they present to him to start with an exec summary. Labeling charts is really important for Jack. So this is almost like an answer key now, Frank, right? So whenever anyone is presenting to Jack, if you write down his name, our AI, which is Astrid, is going to hyper-personalize the presentation to Jack. And you can do this not just for people in your, not just for individuals in your company. You can do this for teams. Like many people do it for board of directors or senior leaders. You can also create fingerprints for your customers and for your partners. So just like LinkedIn is the professional network, is a professional network. We are building the communication network in the enterprise. So you know every single person's communication fingerprint. They could be a customer or a partner. The second thing we do that makes Present really work in the enterprise is, like I was saying, we'll work with your brand and marketing teams to make sure everything on the platform is completely brand aligned. So you'll see here we have a corporate 2021 template, but we have different Present templates as well. So all those templates are preloaded in the Present platform. So you have the images, colors, icons, fonts, etc. And companies really love this because we have companies who have over 100 different brands for each drug or each technology or each team. So all that comes preloaded. So that's how we that's the foundation. And now let me show you how Present works. Like I said, it's kind of an enterprise-grade platform for business presentations. You can do 4 things in Present. You can create presentations that are hyper-personalized, quickly brand aligned. You can transform presentations, enable your team, or learn the art and science. So I'll show you how to create very quickly. The easiest way to create is using our auto generator feature that uses our Astrid AI, which is hyper-personalized to industries. So I noticed, Frank, there are a lot of banking people and financial services people in the audience. So I was just playing with it this morning, and I picked an investment memo as an example. So let's say you have an investment memo, and this is for the company Gleamer, and you want to create a presentation out of it. So it's very, very easy to do on Present. You simply write down your prompt. So create a 5-slide presentation for Jack. You can say who it is for, summarizing the investment memo. And then you can simply go in and add all the context that you want. So you can add text, you can add websites. I'm just going to go ahead and add a local file in here. And I'll show you what's in the file in a second. So here's the Gleamer investment memo. I've attached it. You can also attach Excel files, PDFs, Word docs, presentations, and simply hit generate. So when you hit generate, what Astrid.ai is doing now is reading through the Gleamer investment memo, right? So you can see it has, as usual, it has some investment highlights, some information about the team, some information about the problem they are solving. You know, they are in the space of an on-demand app for auto details, the solution, the benefits, the product, competition, business model, market sizing, you know, the traction they've had, et cetera. So all that information is in here. And you can be as specific as you want. So what Astrid is doing now is reading the document, understanding what's in there. Then it's hitting the corporate brand template for Present AI. And then it'll create a first draft of a presentation for you in the company brand template, right? So that's kind of one piece. And while Astrid is working, I'll just talk about some of the other features, Frank, that we have, right? So what we also do is when we start you off, we also start you off with a library of 35,000 slides in your company brand template. So we'll work with your corporate branding and marketing teams. We have looked at over 2 million different slides in the enterprise space, and we find most people go back to the same set of slides. So we give you that corporate brand template as well. Frank, any questions on auto generator as this loads, and then I can show the other features as well as this finishes its work.
No, I think, yeah, we can ask people if they have question in the chat. Do not hesitate, and then we will we can maybe pursue the demo and get. Does it generate? Yeah, we have one question from Joël Farvo. Does
Yes.
it generate only corporate brand template?
Yeah, you can choose yes, only corporate brand template because we are just focused on enterprise business presentations for Fortune 500 companies. So you can select any template in your company brand, and then Present is going to create a deck in that brand template.
Okay, we have another question from Michael B. Main question is around privacy and trust. Can your technology be deployed on AWS, GCP, or Azure in a way that we do not need to trust Present with our own data?
Yes, that's a great question. So what we do is we are not using any of the customer data to train Astrid our model. So we only pass your data as a parameter. So Astrid comes pre-trained on the industry and with some intelligence about the layouts. But when you pass your data, we pass it as a parameter. So we're not using your data to train our models. And like I said, we serve 100 Fortune 500 companies. So we are GDPR compliant, ISO 27001. We worked with many companies on their AI policies. And I think Maiti is here. She can share more about how we got that done in Cisco as well. But here's an example of the deck was now complete. So this is the Gleamer transforming value. We asked for investment highlights. So you'll see it's able to read through the document and select all the right data. Problem to solution journey. So you'll see that it comes up with the right layouts that capture that information. It also is really good at understanding data and spreadsheets. So it's able to create charts as well. And then finally give you a funding overview. So all that information is in there. But this is just a starting point. It's Astrid is an assistant you can work with. So if you don't like this layout, there are hundreds of layouts here on the right-hand side that you can choose from. If you don't like this visual, you can change this visual. You can use our image library, or when we work with corporate clients, we have their entire image library preloaded into Present as well. So you can change that. If there's a quantitative chart, we also give you the option to change these layouts. So if you don't like this chart, there are hundreds of other quant charts as well. So you have a lot of flexibility. You can change the audience. This is tailored to Jack. If you change it to someone else, the entire deck will change. You can change the template as well, right? So this is auto generator. Like I was mentioning, we have the entire slide library available as well. So if someone's looking for like an award slide, which are painful slides to build, there are hundreds of award slides available. You can pick any award slide you like. So here, let's say if you like this award slide, and it's a huge pain if instead of 3 awards, let's say if you had 4 awards, it's a huge pain to adjust. But with Present, not anymore. You can go from 3 to 4, from 4 to 2, 2 to 3, very, very easily. And we sit on top of PowerPoint and Google Slides. So we are compatible with both PowerPoint and Google Slides. Then you can download into PowerPoint or open in Google Slides. And the last thing I'll show is this template converter. So this solves the Frankenstein deck problem. So many times we have a deck which you might have gotten from an old brand template, or it's a combination of different brand templates. It's a huge pain, and marketing teams manually convert that to your brand. You don't have to do that anymore. Now with Present, you can do it automatically in a few minutes. So here's an example. Let me take a deck which is not Present brand template. You simply upload the deck. And once you upload the deck, Present will ask you what template you want to convert it into, and Astrid will automatically do that for you in a few minutes. So I'm uploading this file. And this is not Present brand template. So you'll see here, the colors, fonts, etc. are not the Present blue. The footer is not right. It's just a dummy document. When you hit next, Present will ask you which brand template you want to convert this into. So imagine all your company brand templates in here. I'll just convert it into Present Corporate 2021. And when I hit check brand compliance, what our AI is doing is checking all the 65,000 elements of every slide, figuring out how the input deck is different from the output brand template. And then it'll tell you what percent is it non-brand compliant and what are all the changes you need to do to make it brand compliant. And if you want, you can do that. You can do those changes yourself. So you'll see here the work is done. Our AI is saying that this deck is 18% compliant, and there are 60 changes, right? So like the footer is wrong, font is wrong. You can simply you can either go and look at all the changes, or I'm just going to ask make everything 100% brand compliant. And now Astrid is going to just go and make the entire deck brand compliant. So I'll just pause here, Frank, if there are any questions or additional comments from the team as Astrid goes and makes this deck brand compliant now.
Yeah, there are a couple of questions, and notably around confidentiality of data. I think you have answer to that. Maybe one question: what are the key advantages of your solutions versus other AI-enhanced tools? How are you making sure that you're far ahead of the competition?
Yes. So, many of our Fortune 500 clients have chosen us over many of the tools that are out there. And the reasons we hear from our clients are few, right? First is we don't use general LLMs, right? We have created these things called specialized presentation models where we tailor the LLM by the industry. And we also have machine learning models to figure out the right layout. So, for example, Kaplan-Meier curve is a layout only valid for biopharma, right? So a general model doesn't work. The first thing is at the tech level, we have these specialized model by industry. The second thing, Frank, is this is an all-in-one platform. So we are not just creating decks for you, but we can transform decks, we can enable, we can help you with learn. We also have some expert services. So it's an end-to-end platform. And then we also work very closely with your team, and we can get that level of hyper-personalization because we have your fingerprints, we have your brand, we have your company assets. So it's the combination of the core tech being specialized for presentations for your industry. And the second is we have all this data about your preferences, so we can personalize it for you, all wrapped in an all-in-one platform, which you can deploy and wall to wall. Right. So here's an
Okay,
example.
very clear. And so
can-
you have the result of the
the template converter. You can see the font, the footer has changed, and you can go back and look at all the individual details as well, right? So you'll see it's changed the colors, change the fonts, change if you have images that are not brand aligned, it'll find the right images as well, change the template as well. So this thing that is taking many people hours and many teams now can be automated very, very quickly. So I'll pause here, Frank. Hopefully this gives the team a little bit of a flavor of what Present and Astrid can do. Yeah.
excellent. And maybe to continue on that, we will ask Maiti to do the kind of testimonial of what she did at Cisco for that. Can you do a quick introduction of yourself, Maiti?
Yeah, hi, Frank, and hi, everyone. Really lovely to be here. I'll do a quick introduction in the context of the global communications theme of the day. I am joining you from Barcelona, even though my background says differently, but I wanted you to know that my experience has always been in international, multinational companies. And I have also experienced what it is to live, for example, in the US. When I moved to the US, I learned that communication in the US was so different than in Europe. The context that I needed to put, it was something very new to me. And when I lived in China, totally different also. They really needed a lot of visual images. In Europe, North and South, how you go to the point that you want to present is very, very different. So my experience is in multinational companies doing transformational leadership. And my last company you mentioned, Frank, is Cisco, where I have been more than a quarter of a century. And one of my key projects that I really enjoy was to bring Present to thousands of people, because I truly believe it helps level setting the playing field of communication, especially when you are not a native English speaker. You already start with a handicap, so you need much more power in your backing presentations to make your message hit the audience. So yeah, that's a quick introduction. Hopefully, Frank, that sets the context for the conversation.
Absolutely, it does. And I can also share my own experience with the corporate with the English slides, etc. That we have to do. So what are the biggest challenges in maintaining a strong and clear messaging strategy at global scale?
Well, I'm sure that all of you have experienced something really sad. That is people working so hard to pitch an idea. And you know the idea is great, but it's not landing. And then you get someone else with an image behind the pitch. And all of a sudden, everything comes together. So the whole concept that an image speaks is worth 1,000 words, it's super important and people don't use it. Why? Because it's so difficult to find the right image. It takes time. And yeah, at the end, people go unprepared, really. And you lose the idea because it's not being enabled properly. So I have seen that as a huge problem of not preparing because it takes too much time to prepare. And also I have seen this big problem of the styles of communication. I think we've already touched that each person is different. When you talk to someone, is this person wanted to see more numbers or more letters or more graphics? If you talk to organizations, there is also brand interest. Some organizations like it very consulting type. Some others are much more visual. And then what happened at the end is that people don't want to start a presentation from blank. It's just, terrifying. Like, I have to do this presentation. Then they pick a presentation from, I don't know, someone else that it was good, and they start changing titles, changing things. And at the end, it's such a mess of fonts, styles, and it really puts people off. And back to the brand compliant, you have the date of 3 years ago in your the footer or header. It is really, really not working well because people don't have time. And then we end up in all these traditional problems that are very easy to solve with a solution like Present. At least it happened to us. We really benefit a lot.
Do you have any feedback that could facilitate or tips that could facilitate the life of the deployment of that kind of solutions within a corporate in Europe? Any feedback about the Prezent AI solutions? Yeah, to being very concrete, I would say how long it takes to make it happen with one team, and then how do you spread it from one team within the other teams at the corporate?
I understand it. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so to do this deployment, at least for us at Cisco, we figured out together with Present that we just had to put the solution in front of the people. Because when people see it, there is no way back. Nobody wants not to have it anymore. So how we did it to get thousands of people in the platform, it was quite simple. We worked very well with the customer success team of Prezent AI and my team. For example, at Cisco, I did the announcement, the why, and I said, my team said weekly open hours for 6 weeks. We invited thousands of people and they could come any week. And that was very well attended because people started to talk to each other like, oh, that was great, what we heard last time. And then people joined and more and more. So in 6 weeks, we had so many active users in the platform. And then we thought, okay, let's make it now more personal. Let's get the managers of each business to open their staff meetings to talk about their own business. And it was not an overhead because managers have already their staff meetings. So we got someone from Present, they join, and then we talk about that specific team about their own presentations. So after 3 months, we were ready for a GA. And then we went GA, and then it was very interesting. Executives wanted also to have it because we did it for the teams, for the whole idea of enabling the teams. But then executives around the world said, wow, we also can benefit from that. And then we started a global executive deployment in one organization, quite large at Cisco. So it is quite I don't want to say simple, nothing is simple, right? Any adoption takes time. But if you have the right structure between Present and the company, it can happen quite quickly. We did it in 3 months.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Quite fast. And how many people are using it right now? Like,
When I left the company, there were more than 2,000, and we were scaling it to 5,000. I don't want to say numbers because I'm not there anymore, and I don't think it's appropriate. But yeah, we're talking in the line of the thousands, yes.
Okay. Yeah. The level of amplitude is quite high. Okay. Adoption, training at scale. Based on your experience, just before coming back to Rajat, but based on your experience and beyond slides, what role do you see AI powered platform like Prezent AI playing in large corporations? Where this could be going?
Well, I come back to my point originally. The level setting, the playing field is fundamental because everybody has great ideas and we are missing them. Innovative ideas because people cannot communicate them. So with AI, this is going to go away. People can focus on their core business, bring the idea, and the skeleton of how you present it is already there for you. So people can really focus on their core business. And that I think is just very basic, but today we are wasting, at least we were wasting so much time on how to make the slide look good, and then it didn't look good at the end, and it was not hitting anybody's. But I think beyond that, Rajat has said it already. I cannot wait to see when we can have a specific value-based models, not generic, but targeted to the industry and to the business where you are living that can accelerate your storytelling. I think there is so much we are going to get from AI. I am really an enthusiastic of AI, so look forward to much more of developments as Rajat has already shared. Thank you.
Thank you, Meiti, for your testimonial. Very useful to understand the other parts on spreading that type of solutions within corporate. So coming back to you, Rajat, and there are a couple of questions that are more on the tech itself and on the Gen AI development and notably at Thread. Obviously, obvious questions around security and confidentiality and access to data. Maybe let's start with the one from, I think you answered the point from Joel asking, can we also generate PowerPoint presentation? So you said yes, and also Google Slide, right?
Yes. So we are an intelligence layer above PowerPoint and Google Slides. You can start in Present, download into PowerPoint, or open in Google Slides.
Okay. Question from Sebastian Clichy. Where is client data stored, processed? Data secrecy is big obstacle in banking sectors. How do you approach it?
Yeah, it's an excellent question, and I'll answer it more fully now that we're in the second half of the podcast. So I think there was a question earlier of what LLM models we are using. So we've looked at different LLM models, and we use Amazon Bedrock and Claude right now, Claude Sonnet as our core model. But on top of that, like Meiti mentioned and Frank mentioned, we provide that industry level and functional level specialization. So for Present with financial services companies, it's trained on financial services. For Present with high-tech companies, we fed it high-tech data, Bio Pharma, it's that, right? So we take the core LLM, we add this industry level information, and we've also built some ML models that take the message and figure out which is the right layout for that message. Like Meiti mentioned, an image is worth 1,000 words. And for the right message, is it a process, or should it be a timeline, or should it be pillars? That intelligence is also part of our core model. So we are using all the best practices of an industry grade LLM like Claude Sonnet in Present right now, but we reserve the right to change it to something else if we find something that works better, and we can train it better. So that really gives our clients that base level of confidence that this is not a model we built from scratch. We're using something built by AWS. I know there's some AWS folks out there, so thank you for the part.
There is
Thank you
one,
for
yeah.
the partnership, right? And then on top of that, in our application, we have some very strict data retention and privacy measures. For example, we don't keep your data that you use and upload to create a presentation or transform a presentation for more than 3 hours in our system. So after 3 hours, we purge that data. Of course, if you upload and you want to share something permanently on a system, we will do that. If a user leaves a company, we have a data deletion policy as well, that the data gets deleted at that point. Like I mentioned earlier, we never use any of your data to train our models. After it comes pre-trained on the industry and with the layout intelligence, we only pass it as a parameter. And we've gone through, like, with many of Fortune 500 clients, they have responsible AI certifications. They have certifications for IT and security. So we've gone through 100 of these with different companies, both in US and in Europe. Does that help, Frank, in terms of a fuller answer?
Yeah, absolutely. Question from Anand in the chat on Astrid. Does Astrid also augment a presentation with outside data, or is the focus strictly on optimizing an existing narrative for coherence and brand compliance?
Oh, that's an excellent question.
Yeah.
Because we have some clients who have already done a lot of hard work creating a document. They already know the words, they already know the ideas. And we have some clients who are very particular on making sure only use what we are giving you. So we have this feature called context lock. So if you lock the context, we'll only take the data from what you provided us. And we have a workspace where you can upload Excel, PowerPoint, PDF. So if you say, lock it to my context, we'll only take your contextual data. But we have some clients who are like, look, take my data as one piece of input, but there might be other intelligence on the web. You might have other intelligence about this industry you have uploaded. So make it the best of both worlds. So we give our clients the option. We can make it just based on your data, or we can bring in the best from other places as well.
Yeah, on that point, is that features that we can use for the banking sectors, for instance, or the wealth managers that have presentation that has to be compliant before going out to clients? In that context, can help those to get the check of the compliance department before showing that presentation to clients? I know that this is a typical use case.
Yeah, that's a very common use case in financial services, because you want to make sure it's only your data. In fact, context lock was developed as a request from Bio Pharma and financial industries. So it came from the regulated industries. And it's actually, surprisingly a hard thing to do, to keep the output limited to just what you're saying. And Frank, what companies do is they give us their layout. They'll say, look, I want an investment memo to look in a certain way. Some people have more data dense slides, some have more data light. So if you tell us, here is your layout for investment memo, here is where the information is, we can make sure that we just take your information and in your brand and create that memo, saving people lots and lots of hours.
If I can comment, it worked very well with us. We changed the templates frequently, and there was always the latest. We never had any issues anymore with the templates to be up to date. The Rajat's team worked with marketing to get everything in the background. Me as a business leader, I didn't have to worry about that at all. Also with the IT teams, to make sure that all the security that we are talking about, that all was perfectly within the company policies of security and IT compliance. So all that was done really very, very smoothly and very successfully.
Yeah, thank you, Heidi, for saying that. And Frank, I think that's part of being enterprise grade, right? There are many tools out there. You can create a presentation for consumer or for your own, or as a prosumer. But in the enterprise, you need to work very closely with the brand team, the marketing team, the IT team, get all the fingerprints, because like Maiti was saying, many presentations are being made to the executives. So you need the executive fingerprints in there. So it's tailored to the executives or being made to partners. And it's a partnership we have with every single Fortune 500 company that we serve.
Yeah, so on that, there is a question from the chat from Carlos Marin asking, can this be used for diverse clients? Like it means using this AI solutions for a creative or digital agency that have several and diverse brands to address with some presentations. Does it work like
Yeah,
this?
100%. I mean, we do serve some agencies and consultancies too who want to get hyper efficient and hyper productive. So like was asked, said in the question, they do have multiple brands and it's just saving their designers 80-90% of time.
Okay, there is one question from Kelly that seems also very interesting on, can you explain more in detail about the fingerprints? Does the slides morph to each person in the team or every new slide that is created?
Yeah, so what we found is, unless you tailor it to the audience, the presentation falls flat, like Mighty said. And I almost got fired in my first week at Cisco, first month at Cisco, because I presented to the CFO and I had big images and big stories instead of just data and like numbers, right? So I've learned this lesson the hard way. Luckily, I had another chance to present to her. But what you do is each person can create their own fingerprint, or if you know someone, you can create a fingerprint for them just by answering a set of 10 questions. In the back, we have 65 parameters that we know define a person's communication style. And that's what you see in that simplified form in the fingerprint I showed you. And on every slide, we adhere to their visual preference. So if someone doesn't like images, it'll be more numbers. If someone doesn't like buzzwords, those words won't be there. So for every single slide created for that person will follow their fingerprint. And sometimes people create fingerprints for groups as well, and for teams as well. And you can do it for customers and partners. We have some consulting firms. Imagine if you're presenting to, an executive or a Fortune 500 company and you don't know them. You want that first, or if you're a bank and you're a wealth manager, you're presenting to someone, high net worth person, and knowing what they like will make your communication more effective. And those fingerprints are on Prezent. You can request those fingerprints and then create a very hyper-personalized communication experience.
Yeah, question on the data source. If you take data, so question from Simon, if you take data from your source to my presentation and blend with my data, how do you assure that AI is not hallucinating? And I guess there is no indemnity whatsoever, but perhaps you mark your data somehow.
Yeah, it's an excellent question. So what we have found is when we move from these general LLMs to our specialized presentation models, we have found the level and amount of hallucinations have come down. But as with any AI, there is still going to be some level of hallucination. One of the things we are working on is footnoting and sourcing the source of data that people are using. So that's been a common request from banks. So when you create and I know banking decks have a lot of footnotes and endnotes. So we are making sure that if we are pulling data from the net or we're pulling your data, there is a footnote and an endnote saying where that data came from.
Okay, another question more on the business model side from Anand. Prezent as a business model is based on how internal communication works in enterprises today. Do you foresee any major shift in processes that you are already adapting to?
Yeah, I think I would clarify by saying people are using not just for internal presentations, but people use Prezent for external presentations as well. We have a tech company here in the Bay Area where their entire sales team, their key account managers, are using Prezent in their sales pitches to their clients. So you can, let's say you are selling a product to Nike and you want to figure out how to sell the same product to Pepsi. You can just upload your Nike presentation and say, tailor this presentation now, not for Nike, but for Pepsi. And then the AI will just do it for you. So it's saving salespeople a lot of time. And that's the direction, Frank, we are going in. It's used for both internal and external. I don't know, Mighty, if you want to add anything to that, how was it used in your team?
What calls my attention is that we are talking about very sophisticated AI capabilities. But if we take it a step back, there are very basic things that we spend a lot of time to do presentations that can be much already. You can get so much productivity. We don't have to upload any data. You can download a skeleton of a presentation that it will take you a long time to put together. So if we take it into the most simple PowerPoints that we do, you already have so much to win. Now, of course, we can take it where you are going, which is very impressive of what is ahead. But even if you look what your teams are doing today, probably there is already a lot of efficiencies that can be leveraged without uploading any data, just downloading structurally well-sound skeletons for the storytelling.
A great point, Mighty. That's why we offer two versions of a product. We offer a standard version of Present that doesn't have Gen AI, doesn't have uploading, but it gives what Mighty says. You have the slide shells, you can create a storyline without the actual text. And that's where many teams start. That itself will save you 60, 70% time. So many companies were wary about their Gen AI policies. They start there. And then we work with them getting AI approved in those clients. And then we upgrade all of them to a premium version where you have all the Gen AI features as well. So we can work with you on where you are in the journey.
I think the journey, exactly, to map the journey to your adoption and to your business, the state of your business is very important.
Yeah, it's important, I think, to insist on the specialized model and see what it brings in addition to the kind of generic one. There is one question on from Patrick Richard about that. On the website, it says that you have two major industries as clients, Bio Pharma and Big Tech. Is asking what the next verticals. I think you mentioned it about financial services. You already have a couple of banks as clients. And also the question is about who is the chief officer function that you want to address within those corporates?
Yeah, so apart from biopharma and tech, financial services and manufacturing are the two new verticals we've been getting into. And we have, I think, over 10 Fortune 1000 companies in manufacturing already. And Frank, like you said, a few banks. I think the roles have been evolving. So when we started, roles like the head of strategy and operations, the head of communication, chief of staff, those were roles kind of initially purchasing it. But now we have found that there is a VP of AI or CAIO officer in many of these companies, and they have been pulling Present in more in 2020, later 2024 and 2025 into their clients. So we can start with the business, with the head of business or head of operations, strategy, communications. The CMO also is a pretty big archetype for us, and its Present is increasingly becoming part of the marketing stack in these companies, and the CAIO or the VP of AI, who's looking to bring in AI solutions to convert some of these heavily manual workflows within a company like presentations with AI.
Okay, that's very clear. There is already a kind of demand from Simon to ask for a kind of having a benchmark table presentation to show Prezent AI versus the competition, and I think maybe that's a good way to transition to thank you very much for your participation. So thank you very much, Rajat and Mighty.
Thank you so much for being a great partner. It's not possible without the partnership with customers and advisors like you. So appreciate it.
Thank you.
Excellent. Okay, I think we can close it. Thank you so much.